They're so entitled, so frustrating, so deluded. Worst fan base in the top six, bar none. And for me, this just kind of goes to show how good Eddie Nketiah actually was. The fact that we are able to create all these different kinds of opportunities and convert them as well is why Arsenal will win this Premier League title. Welcome back, lads, ladies, and other False Nine Show listeners. Thank you so much for joining us today. It's a good one. Arsenal are back to 5 points clear over Manchester City in the title race with a 3-2 come from behind win at the Emirates over Manchester United. Come on, you Gunners! The title is ours, guys. It is time to start believing. It is time to start trusting the process. We are well on our way to our first title since 2004. The star man of the show tonight was Eddie Nketiah. So I just want to show you guys his heat map real quick, his stats. He was incredible, absolutely incredible, especially in the box. He got both of his goals inside that 6-yard box today, and he is showing why you can be a poacher. You can get your goals from close to the goal, from close to David De Gea, and still be incredibly effective. And I think this just goes to show this data here. This is brought to us from Canon Stats, and they get their data from Opta, of course, who is the biggest data conglomerate in world football. And for me, this just kind of goes to show how good Eddie Nketiah actually was. Look at these progressive passes received right here. Look at these areas that he is taking the ball into. He is in these extremely dangerous areas. So for those of you who don't know, zone 14 is this little square right here in front of the penalty box. It kind of makes up this D at the edge of the 18-yard box. And Eddie Nketiah is really good at penetrating this area. And a lot of statistics will go and show you that when you dominate zone 14, when you dominate this area, you win matches. And Eddie Nketiah makes this area his. From there, he then moves forward into the penalty box, into the areas around and about the penalty area and the actual 6-yard box. And he's just absolutely incredible. He is a fox in the box in these zones, but he is so much more than that. And he brings so much more than that to this side. I've been saying it for a while now. Eddie Nketiah is an incredible center forward when it comes to his pressing abilities. He presses with an intensity that is rivaled by very few in the forward line, let alone the center forward area. He is an incredible presser of the ball, and that has really alleviated the stress and pressure that comes from missing Gabriel Jesus, who is also incredible when it comes to his defensive work rate. As a center forward, those two are two of the best, not only in the Premier League, but in the whole world when it comes to pressing from the center forward areas. And for me, that is the biggest reason why this loss of Gabriel Jesus has not been felt that hard. We keep the same defensive structure, the same defensive shape, arguably even improve out of possession with Eddie Nketiah on the pitch instead of Gabriel Jesus. Now, obviously, Jesus has better link up, better hold up play. He's obviously better at dropping deep, but Eddie is so much better in terms of penalty box poaching, in terms of getting these scrappy center forward goals, as well as his pressing ability. There isn't that much to separate the two players when it comes to their defensive work rate. And for me, that is the biggest reason why this loss of Gabriel Jesus has not been felt that hard. He might have to win his spot back. If Eddie Nketiah continues scoring goals, he is now our joint top scorer in all competitions. He does only have 4 goals in the Premier League, but he has only started 7 matches in the Premier League. So in 7 starts, he has 4 goals. I think he is 1 off of Gabriel Jesus for his goals in the Premier League. He has 8 in all competitions, which puts him level with Martin Odegaard as our top scorer in this Arsenal squad. He has been a revelation this year, and a lot of us didn't expect him to be this good this year. A lot of us did not expect him to step up in the way that he has, and so for that, Eddie, I owe you a true apology. I am so sorry, my brother. You have been absolutely fantastic and incredible. And it is so good to see Haaland really coming good in this Arsenal side. Bukayo Saka and Eddie Nketiah cost zero. £0, €0, $0 between the two of them. We didn't have to bring them in whatsoever for in terms of transfer rates. They have Arsenal in their blood. They have Arsenal in their veins. They are Arsenal through and through. They love this club and they are giving it all for the club. And a large part of this sustained run that we are on goes to Eddie Nketiah and Bukayo Saka. Bukayo Saka has been absolutely incredible for 2.5 years now. I think this is the season where he is making that transition into world class. We'll get more into Bukayo Saka in a little bit because I don't want to take away from how good Eddie Nketiah was today. His 2 goals were both excellently well taken. That little flick, that in the 90th minute of a 2-2 game against probably your biggest rivals in the Premier League. I know Tottenham are our biggest rivals, but in the Premier League, Manchester United have been our biggest rivals, since 94, since 93, since the Premier League was founded. It has been Manchester United who we have been toe and toe with. We've been foils, we've been mirrors for each other. It's 2-2, 90th minute. You're wearing the number 14 shirt. The game is chaotic. The energy is frantic. And you have the composure to convert a chance like that with a little flick to just get the outside of your boot up and over the ball like that. My praise for this kid knows no bounds right now. He has absolutely made my day, made my week. I am just so grateful to have this player in our squad, and he's been nothing short of excellent for Arsenal in the absence of Gabby Jesus. I really think Gabby Jesus has a fight on to win his spot back. And I think both players, I think both Eddie, I think both Gabby will be excited for this challenge. I think they like competing with each other. They are very competitive players who both want to win, who both want to make names for themselves, leave legacies, but they are very unselfish when it comes to the attitude, when it comes to wanting the best for the team. They are both incredibly unselfish. We saw this early in the season. I think it was still even preseason. Gabriel Jesus had his first goal in an Arsenal shirt, and he does the Eddie Nketiah celebration with Nketiah on the bench, warming up on the touchline, and he does the Eddie Nketiah celebration. He goes over and he looks at him, and they make eye contact and they celebrate together. They enjoy challenging each other. They really do. So I think that Jesus will be more than happy to try and earn his spot back. And I think Eddie is not going to willingly give that spot up. And it's just more and more positives for Arsenal. You want that kind of challenge and competition in and around the squad. You need players earning their place in the squad. If you want to win the Premier League, if you want to win the Champions League, Europa League, if you want to be one of the best teams in the world, you have to have players in every position competing against each other. We saw that with Ben White today, pulled off at halftime and replaced with Tomiyasu. Part of that was due, I think, to the yellow card, and having a yellow card going up against Manchester United's Marcus Rashford for 45 more minutes is going to be difficult, is going to be risky. So I think Arteta made the right call with that, with swapping Ben White for Takahiro Tomiyasu. I think he made that right call. But it just goes to show how important it is to have competition in every position, and where really, if you have a good manager, if you have a good squad balance, if you have players with the right mentality, it brings the best out of everyone. Our other star performer of the night was Oleksandr Zinchenko. What a good signing he has turned out to be. Our 2 signings from Manchester City this summer were excellent. Gabriel Jesus and Oleksandr Zinchenko have revolutionized this squad, particularly, I think, in their mentality and their leadership, their winning attitude. Every single match, every single competition, they are going out there to win it, to give it their all, to give it 100%. And that has permeated throughout the squad. It has been contagious throughout the rest of the players in this Arsenal squad, and it's made a huge difference. But in terms of technical ability and what he is capable and the way he changes the way this Arsenal team plays, Oleksandr Zinchenko has been absolutely excellent for us. His ability to step into the midfield and help create overloads in the midfield. And there were at times he was playing right wing in this match where he was doing rotations with Bukayo Saka and Martin Odegaard and Takehiro Tomiyasu in this match. I mean, there are very, very, very few players in the world who are that versatile, who can do things like that, who can provide you that level of chaos, that level of rhythm, that level of technical ability from that left back position. There are very few players in the world who are capable of that, and Oleksandr Zinchenko is one of them, and he has elevated this Arsenal squad. He makes us a big team. A team that is capable of beating Manchester City, Bayern Munich, Real Madrid, Liverpool on any given day when Oleksandr Zinchenko is healthy. And if we really are going to win the title, we are going to need him to be healthy in these big matches against Manchester City. We still have to play them twice. I have concerns over the trip to the Etihad. I have concerns over that, but I have full confidence that we can get 3 points from them at the Emirates. I have nothing but confidence that we can invite them into our home and absolutely take the game to them, disrupt them, win that match. I have full confidence that we are capable of doing that, especially with the added depth of Leandro Trossard. So this, guys, is Zinchenko's heat map, again brought to us from canonstats.com. They get it from Opta, who again is the biggest name in terms of advanced data in world football, and it just goes to show how good this guy really is, how versatile he is. Look at this heat map. This should be like a Granit Xhaka heat map. In reality, this is what Granit Xhaka's heat map has typically looked for us in terms of passes received over the past year, over the past 18 months. Look at these open play passes. He's making passes to Bukayo Saka from this area. Just look at this. Look at the positions he's taking up. 86% pass rate, 7 progressive passes, 1 key pass. I believe that key pass was the goal that Eddie Nketiah had in the 90th minute. Again, this guy is just so important to us and makes such a big difference. These areas where he is winning the ball back, it's not just the left flank that Zinchenko really locks down. It's the entire left side of the pitch. If you split the pitch down the middle, if you split it into 2 halves, Oleksandr Zinchenko occupies the entire left half at such an astounding rate. This is absurd. The fact that he is receiving passes in this area to this much volume, that is absolutely crazy. Absolutely crazy. This guy is so good for us. And he was excellent. He was nothing short of incredible on the night for us and was a huge difference maker for us in winning this match. Again, man, just look at these stats here. I mean, everything favors Arsenal pretty much. I think this big one, ball possession and expected goals, 0.36 expected goals, and Manchester United scored twice. It was a good finish from Rashford, it was a good header from Lisandro Martinez, but Ramsdale could have done better against the Rashford chance. Lisandro Martinez got lucky. We were the better side by almost every single metric. Look at this. 25 shots to their 6. We had 5 shots on target. We had more shots off target than they had shots in total. That's absolutely ridiculous. We had more blocked shots than they did total shots. That is absolutely ridiculous. We were peppering their goal, like all without. They had 2 yellow cards, 9 fouls. Our 1 yellow card. Okay, we had 2 yellow cards. They're missing the yellow card from Mikel Arteta here, which is kind of a bummer. Also, we'll get into that in a minute. Did not deserve that yellow card right here. But look at these passes: 520 to 396. We had 3 big chances, 20 shots from inside the box. We hit the woodwork. That was Bukayo Saka right after he scored his second goal. I think this was an answer to Lisandro Martinez's goal, was Bukayo Saka hit the woodwork. We were level on tackles despite all that ball possession. Come on now. This is just one more last thing, guys, that I want to show you guys in terms of stats. This is the momentum map of the match. So Arsenal is in green here, and Manchester United is in blue. And what this comes to us from SofaScore, who is another really good statistical conglomerate, statistical website for advanced analysis. And what this momentum graph does is it basically measures things like progressive passes, like expected threat, possession time, where the ball is, if it's in the final third or if it's in the middle third, things like that, to see which team is kind of dominating at that any given time. You may have seen a lot of talk recently about game state. That's kind of been the word. It's been the buzzword since the World Cup. And this just goes to show that we were clearly the better side, in my opinion, over Manchester United. I got into a Twitter argument after the match about Lissandro Martinez's goal. It came kind of against the run of play. You see, it kind of came out of nowhere here. We had been dominant starting the second half, and then Lissandro Martinez got a really lucky header to go in, to be honest. I mean, I think it was Gabriel very nearly cleared it off of the line. Aaron Ramsdale had a weak parry off of a corner that falls to the shortest player in the box, who does a chipped header with a low XG from the top of the box that is almost cleared off the line. This is a lucky goal. And honestly, we were the better team than United, and I think the scoreline kind of flatters United a little bit, because by most metrics we were the significantly better team. For me, this is a lot of the rivalry. The fact that United were able to play up to us has to do with the rivalry. They are a good team. They deserve to be in third right now. But a lot of this comes down to the fact that they played up to the occasion. So I don't want to take too much credit away from them, but we were the better side on the day. I mean, United really are the least bearable fan base of the big six, bar none. I know Chelsea is miserable. Arsenal is pretty miserable, let's be honest, in terms of fan bases. But United are just, oh my goodness, they delude themselves so much. Oh, they are so frustrating, as they're so entitled, so frustrating, so deluded. Worst fan base in the top six, bar none. The amount of level-headed United fans, of unbiased United fans, is just so relatively low compared to the other big six sides. Oh, they're the absolute worst. Just, it makes this victory so much sweeter. United have no reason to feel hard done by. Oleksandr Zinchenko was onside for that third goal. He was onside. We will bring up, I'll show you the VAR analysis that shows that he was onside. He was onside. They have no reason to feel hard done by here. Now, all this being said, I don't want to take away too much from Manchester United, because they did some really interesting things tactically, and then they did have their players are talented. Particularly, I think Marcus Rashford is a really good player. He's world class for me. I know Arsenal were linked with him for the past few years while Rashford has been struggling at United, and I so wish we had brought him in. The fee probably would have been expensive, if we're being all honest. Regardless, he's a very good player. He played well. But I thought they did some really interesting things here, tactically, particularly with Wout Weghorst. So I want to show you this here real quick. So this is Manchester United's average position map. This is brought to us from WhoScored.com. I think that they're really good for statistical analysis as well. But the main thing, guys, that I use them for is to look at the average positions. They have good heat maps and things like that as well. But average positions, they're really solid for me. But what you see here, and what I want to talk about, is number 27 here, Wout Weghorst. And this area. So what Arsenal did here, and what Mikel Arteta did, and what we have done throughout the season, is we've been using Oleksandr Zinchenko as an inverted left back to step into that midfield and create overloads. It is really hard to get four players in the midfield. You see this in Graham Potter. He's famous now for this 3-box-3 formation, and it's bringing in a fourth player into the midfield is what a lot of tactics, the meta in tactics right now revolves around, is how can you create overloads in this midfield. Now, of course, Erik ten Hag comes from the Pep Guardiola, the Cruyff school of thought, the total football school of thought. And so this is an approach that he's going to take in order to create an attacking side, is how to create overloads in the midfield. Look at all these players that he had occupying the midfield. And while of course these aren't all going to be in the midfield at once, a lot of this is down to the chaos that Arsenal's rotations and the ability of Oleksandr Zinchenko, of Takahiro Tomiyasu, to step into the midfield. What that does is it brings other players, particularly other players of the opposition, out of position into the midfield and create space for your forwards, for your dangerous players, for your attacking midfielders like Xhaka and, more importantly, Martin Odegaard, to run into that space that is vacated by these players who are stepping into the midfield to try and combat Arsenal's overload. So we can see here Lisandro Martinez, Scott McTominay, Christian Eriksen. All of these players are stepping into the midfield to try and combat Arsenal's overload. And this really interesting one for me was Wout Weghorst, who is a center forward. He's a big center forward, 6'6", real big guy. What he should be doing, in my opinion, is staying high, staying really, not particularly high, but staying high so that he can, when United win the ball back, he can receive long balls in the air and head them on to Marcus Rashford. I think that's very dangerous on the counter-attack, especially because Wout Weghorst has good touch, so he can receive the ball at the feet. But when he's forced to drop deep, it isolates Marcus Rashford up top. And while Marcus Rashford is a very dangerous player, and even in isolation, he's incredibly dangerous, having other players to work off obviously just makes you that much more dangerous. And when you push Wout Weghorst much further deep, there were times he was playing right back in this game. And I know we've memed Kane doing that in the past. When you play right back as a striker, you vacate the center of the pitch and you leave your forward partners alone and isolated, and you can't create good chances that way. And for me, that's why United's XG was so low. They weren't creating chances. They weren't creating quality chances, in part mostly due to the fact that Arsenal was overloading this midfield. Look at how many players we have right around the center of the park, whereas United were getting bunched up. They weren't able to manipulate space properly. They were getting isolated in dangerous areas. Aaron Wan-Bissaka was getting isolated by Gabriel Martinelli on the left. Luke Shaw getting isolated by Bukayo Saka on the right. We were creating one-on-ones. We were creating isolation patterns by overloading this midfield, and Manchester United weren't able to counter that properly. You can only beat what's in front of you, guys. I want to talk about Mikel Arteta now because I think he was spot on throughout the match. Let's start with his booking, his yellow card that he received in the 30th minute, I believe. Mikel Arteta has developed a reputation, of course, for being intense and having antics on the touchline. A lot of good old boys in the English system and the English FA have issues with this. And I'm not a particular fan of this sort of behavior either. Don't get me wrong. But come on. Like, grow up. Grow up. He's an intense man. Grow up. You're mad because a manager has too much passion, is what this sort of mentality is telling me. Absolutely ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. Anyways, Ben White received one foul and was booked on his first foul. Luke Shaw had 4 fouls, and Mikel Arteta gets booked. That's a stinker from Anthony Taylor for me. I mean, Mikel Arteta went and he showed this held up 4 fingers to the 4th official as if to say, that's Luke Shaw's 4th foul. Where's his card? And Anthony Taylor books him. Absolute mistake from Taylor. That was a dumb decision. That was a really, really dumb decision. Now, I think that aside from that, he did get the majority of the game, right? But why is Mikel Arteta being booked there? It's ridiculous. It is a media agenda narrative. A media narrative that is being peddled against Mikel Arteta because he is passionate on the touchline. And look, I'm not the biggest fan of his antics either. When he freaked out at Eddie Howe, when he freaked out at Jurgen Klopp last year at Anfield, yeah, that's problematic behavior that you don't want to see from your manager. I'm not the biggest fan of it either, but guys, this is not a yellow card offense. Aside from that, Mikel Arteta got everything right today. I think the decision to pull Ben White at the break at halftime and bring on Tomiyasu instead was a masterstroke. It was really, really intelligently done. I think particularly because Takehiro Tomiyasu is a well, I shouldn't say much better. He's a very good one-on-one defender. And I think that was what was a little bit needed with Marcus Rashford today. Was someone who is really, really good in those one-on-one areas. We saw Takehiro Tomiyasu lock down Mo Salah when Liverpool came to the Emirates, and he did it again today when Marcus Rashford came to the Emirates. So that's a really intelligent move from Mikel Arteta for me that I wasn't really expecting. I did have concerns about Ben White, but I expected him to play a little bit longer. Bringing him off at halftime, he wasn't playing particularly poorly. It was more so that he was risky to continue playing because he was on a yellow card booking. And I think that's why he was brought off, because a second yellow would have been monumental in the match for us. Really well done by Mikel Arteta, saving Leandro Trossard. That substitution for late was really good. He came on and he brought a different level of intensity for Gabby Martinelli against really, really tired legs of Manchester United. Gabby Martinelli is a hard player to play against. He runs up and down. He has a motor that doesn't stop. Aaron Wan-Bissaka was tired. Rafa Varane was tired. Christian Eriksen and Scott McTominay were tired. And Leandro Trossard was able to capitalize on that. And he and Oleksandr Zinchenko linked up very well to help create the opportunity for Martin Odegaard that ended up resulting in Eddie Nketiah's goal. Again, that just goes to show Mikel Arteta is a really, really good manager. He's not perfect. He's made mistakes. He's made mistakes as recently as 2 weeks ago. That doesn't matter. You don't need to be perfect to win the Premier League. You just need to be very good. You just need to be better than everyone else. And this season, so far, Mikel Arteta has been better than everyone else. The starting 11 picks itself, of course, so there isn't too much credit that I want to give to Mikel Arteta for that, but his substitutions, his tactics, the way we overloaded the midfield, intensity, the instructions for Bukayo Saka and Gabby Martinelli to stay high and wide it's working for us. He has created a system that is hard to combat because he has plan Bs, because you know what he's going to do, and it doesn't matter. It's difficult to stop anyway because so much of it, there's so much freedom given to the players on the pitch because we have players like Martin Odegaard, like Oleksandr Zinchenko, like Granit Xhaka, who are very creative and technical with the ball at our feet, that we can have this freedom in our play. Mikel Arteta has created an excellent system that you can't really stop even though you know what's coming, and his ability to make in-game adjustments is improving. I had concerns about that. In his first year and a half of management, in his first 18 months of management, I had concerns about his ability to make adjustments. He is improving week on week on week in that regard for me. Now let's talk about our goals, because all 3 goals were taken really, really well today. The first one, of course, was Eddie Nketiah coming from a corner. Now I want to give credit to Gabriel Martinelli here, because we won this corner from Gabriel Martinelli winning the ball back in a high press against Aaron Wan-Bissaka. So there was a goal kick, David De Gea had it, and played it out to Aaron Wan-Bissaka. Gabriel Martinelli immediately closed him down, wins the ball back, puts in a shot, I believe, that gets blocked and goes out for a corner. Granit Xhaka gets his head on the corner, and Eddie Nketiah is able to get the rebound and convert the goal. So I want to give credit to Gabriel Martinelli for creating the opportunity that led to the first goal for us today. The second goal, of course, coming from Bukayo Saka. What an excellent shot. Absolutely insane. And he had a couple of those today that were very nearly in. And then he did, of course, have his one goal that came just after the break, just after halftime, that put Arsenal in front. Perfect left-footed shot that just curled into the corner, skips off of the turf, and bounces into the side net. There was nothing David De Gea could do to stop it. David De Gea had a really good game. Really, really good game all around. He had a big chance from Eddie Nketiah in particular that he did really good to get down low and stop it. there was nothing he could do about this Bukayo Saka shot. It was very well taken. The third goal, of course, comes from the link up of Trossard and Oleksandr Zinchenko on the left to create the opportunity for Martin Odegaard to get into the middle of the box, where it then falls for Eddie Nketiah off of the Martin Odegaard block. I think his shot was blocked, and Eddie Nketiah is just able to flick it home. It's Arsenal getting in the right positions, creating opportunities. All three of our goals came from different parts of the pitch, different types of play. One comes from a corner that is won off of intense pressing. One comes from great link-up play coming down the left-hand side. One comes from incredible individual performance on the right-hand side. If you're an Arsenal fan, it did kind of look like porn today. One comes from great individual performance on the right-hand side from Bukayo Saka. We are creating opportunities all over the final third, and that is what is going to carry us to this title. The fact that we are able to create all these different kinds of opportunities and convert them as well is why Arsenal will win this Premier League title. Now we have just a few more talking points here that I want to touch on. I want to go over player ratings, and then I want to talk about some of the good things that I saw in terms of mentality and personality and teamwork that I think have kind of gone under the radar, that are really important not only for this match and this season, but for the future of Arsenal as a football club and the future of this squad. So let's start at the back. Aaron Ramsdale. This is SofaScore's player ratings, by the way. They gave Aaron Ramsdale a 5.9. I'm going to go a little bit lower. I'm going to give him a 5. I don't think he had his best performance. Ramsdale is always good in terms of his distribution and his quality. I think I've seen him, have maybe one or two off games in terms of his distribution in an Arsenal shirt. So that's something of his game that is perennial, that we can rely on. And that's really, really huge for us. But his shot stopping was not the best today. I definitely think he could have done better on Marcus Rashford's goal, and I think that he should have been a lot stronger in terms of clearing his line for Lisandro Martinez's goal. Now moving into the back line, Ben White, they give him here a 6.1. I'm comfortable giving Ben White a 6. I don't think he only played 45 minutes. He only played one half, and he wasn't particularly impactful. I don't think he got cooked or rinsed by Marcus Rashford necessarily, so that for me is why he's able to stay at a 6. But he wasn't particularly impressive either. William Saliba was given a 6.6 here. I'm going to give William Saliba a 7. I think what he was asked to do today was be the last line of defense, was to be the last man, and to not let anything happen in the box. He could have done better on Marcus Rashford's goal, yes. However, I still think he was pretty good. Gabriel, they gave a 7. I'm going to give him a 7.5. I think that Gabby was our best defender today. I even think he was better than Thomas Partey was today in terms of defensive importance. He was excellent. He didn't put a foot wrong. Was generally speaking very good on the corners. He very nearly cleared that Lisandro Martinez goal off of the first, off of the actual corner in, and he also very nearly cleared it off of the line. I think Gabby had a really, really good display. For me, he is the most underrated center half in the Premier League right now, possibly in Europe. Part of the reason why people aren't going to say he's not underrated is because he's playing for a big club, and I understand that. In terms of like top 6 or like big clubs, he's probably the most underrated center half. He's been so good for so long for us right now. I think he's been even better than William Saliba. A lot of people were saying in their, combined 11s in the lead up to this match that it was Rafa Varane and William Saliba, or Lisandro Martinez and William Saliba. For me, it's Gabriel and William Saliba. They're, of the 4 center halves that were on the pitch today, these were the best 2. So I don't really think that's that debatable, in my personal opinion. Oleksandr Zinchenko, they gave him a 6.7. Man deserves an 8. He was absolutely on fire. I don't think that he actually had an assist today, but he was all over the pitch. He was so good. all over the pitch. He was playing everywhere from right wing to left back. He is instrumental in this side, and Oleksandr Zinchenko is going to get an 8 for me. Moving into the midfield, Thomas Partey, they gave him a 6.9. I'm going to give Thomas a 6. I think particularly in the first half, his passing was just not up to standards, and that was actually where Marcus Rashford's goal came from, was a ball that was given away by Thomas Partey. I think that we need better from him against Manchester City to get that result. But he was still good nonetheless, and was for the most part very defensively solid. Granit Xhaka was given a 7.3. I'm comfortable giving Granit a 7, maybe a 7.5. He didn't have too much output today. I think he had an assist for Eddie's first goal. He did have an assist for Eddie's first goal. So an assist is always a good thing to have. And he didn't really put a foot wrong today, but he didn't elevate. He didn't bring it to the next level for us. But that's not... I'm not trying to insult the guy. I think a 7 or a 7.5 is exactly where he belongs. Martin Odegaard was given a 6.3. I'm going to give him a 7. I think he did have a poor first half. He gave the ball away a few times, but he was really good in the second half and was instrumental in linking play and breaking down Manchester United. So I am going to give Martin a 7. Gabriel Martinelli was given a 7.2. I'm going to give him a 6. I don't think that he was... I don't think that he had his best display. I don't think he was awful, as some others have been saying, but he definitely could have been better, and he hasn't been great since the World Cup. He's been playing a lot of football. Maybe, I really think that this Leandro Trossard deal will bring the best out of him. I think it will give him a chance to get rested and provide much needed competition for him on that left-hand side. Bukayo Saka was given an 8.1. I'm going to give him an 8.5. Personally, I think he was excellent. That goal was just so good. It's arguably the best goal Bukayo Saka has scored. I think he had one other goal that was really good where he nutmegged Diego Laxalt. This was in the season he broke out, I believe, Mikel Arteta's first year in charge. First 6 months in charge. Bukayo Saka, it was right before the lockdown. We were playing Newcastle, and Bukayo Saka nutmegs Diego Laxalt and goes and buries the ball in the corner. This is when he was playing left back. For me, that's my favorite Bukayo Saka goal. Well, for me, that's the best Bukayo Saka goal. This is the second best and my favorite. This was so well taken. Eddie Nketiah gets man of the match with a 9 for me. He was given an 8.0 by SofaScore. He gets a 9 for me. So good and instrumental. The way he just poached those 2 goals, we needed him, and he stepped up and rose to the occasion. Excellent by Eddie. So well done. What a talent we have on our hands. In terms of the substitutes, we had Rob Holding in for Martin Odegaard, Takahiro Tomiyasu in for Ben White, and Leandro Trossard in for Gabby Martinelli. Tomiyasu was given a 7.2. I'm comfortable giving Tommy a 7. I think he had one moment that was really poor early in the second half, and aside from that, I think he was pretty good. Did really good job of shutting down Marcus Rashford in those one-on-one situations. Leandro Trossard was given a 7.0. Now, normally when a player only plays 8, 10, 15 minutes or so, for me, that's not long enough to give them a proper rating. I think a 7 is great because he was instrumental in creating this goal for us, and I'm creating a transfer video right now to talk about Leandro Trossard, Jakub Kiwior, potentially Eduardo Camavinga, and potentially Ivan Fresneda. I'm creating a video right now about those players and about this transfer window, and of course Mykhailo Mudryk will be a big portion of that video as well. Leandro Trossard is a great buy for us, and this was an incredible debut for him. I would have liked to see him get on the output sheet, whether it was an assist or a goal. Of course, we want to see that. But things don't always go perfectly, and nonetheless, he still had a really excellent debut. Rob Holding, again, wasn't on the pitch long enough to rate, but I just love seeing him come on to close games out for us. I love the guy. I really love Rob Holding. I'm sorry he didn't cost 50 million. He's just such a good player to have in our squad. I really look up to the guy. I think that he has incredible mentality, personality, leadership traits. I think he provides a lot to this dressing room atmosphere, and I'm just really happy to have him. I think he is an excellent squad option. He is good enough to be starting in the Premier League. I don't think he's good enough to be starting for a Champions League or Premier League title winning team, but he's certainly good enough to be fourth choice center half in the Premier League for Arsenal specifically. The last thing that I want to talk to you guys about today is just the general atmosphere around the club. So I was at the match against Fulham earlier this year where Arsenal went down 1-0 in the 60th minute against the run of play. Mitrovic was able to get in on a poor ball from, I think it was Saka to Gabriel, and Mitrovic was able to steal it and convert his chance. Well taken. Good job by Mitrovic. But the way the players and the fans responded is something we haven't seen at the Emirates ever. This has been the best atmosphere at the Emirates. I started following Arsenal in 2006 in the first year of the Emirates. This has been the best atmosphere at the Emirates ever. Ever. I promise you that is the truth. I'm telling you that is the truth. When I say this, please believe me, this is the best atmosphere the Emirates have ever seen. And the way that the players responded to going down, you see Gabriel, Xhaka, Odegaard stepping up, being leaders in this side, rejuvenating the squad, invigorating the other 11 out there with them, and finding ways to get the best out of each other, to join together to play. There was, in the dressing room against Tottenham this past weekend, we saw a few pictures where they had things like unity, a poster that said unity put up on the wall, a poster that said identity put up on the wall. Arsenal playing as one squad. They're playing as one unit. That's a hallmark of a title-winning team. You saw that with Leicester. You saw that with Liverpool when they won the title. You saw that with City when they start their dominant run. You have to play as one in order to win the Premier League title, and that is something that is massive for us. Now, obviously, there's a few contracts that are up for renewal come summertime, come the next 12 months, come the next 6 months, hopefully. These players are Bukayo Saka, Gabriel Martinelli, and William Saliba. William Saliba is, for me, the one that is least likely to resign. He stinks of PSG. He stinks of Real Madrid. And we know that these teams are going to be coming in for him. When we scored the winner, Oleksandr Zinchenko noticeably ran into the crowd and celebrated with the fans. And you love to see that. You love to see that passion from players. But what wasn't shown on television was William Saliba doing the exact same thing. There have been positive advancements in William Saliba's contract talk recently, and the way that he celebrated this winner was huge. For me, it shows that he is falling in love with this club again, that he's falling in love with Mikel Arteta again. So that I just wanted to touch on that, to bring some more positivity to this channel and to this Arsenal team. Aside from that, obviously the players love Mikel Arteta and he loves these boys. There's a really cool picture of him just hugging Bukayo Saka. and they're the two cornerstones that this Arsenal team is built on. Martin Odegaard is our captain and he might be our best player. I think Bukayo Saka is our best player, and he opens up the door for players like Odegaard to shine because he attracts so much attention himself. And the only way to stop him is to foul him. I think that Bukayo Saka is personally our best player. Mikel Arteta is the best young manager in world football. You have your Peps, your Klopps, you have like Mourinho, then you have, Conte and Ancelotti as that group of star managers, of world-class managers. Aside from that, you have Nagelsmann, Ruben Amorim, and Mikel Arteta, I think, making up that next group of up-and-coming managers. And Mikel Arteta is really making a name for himself. And this will be, mark it down now, guys, this will be Arsenal's first title since 2004, since the Invincibles. And it will be down to Mikel Arteta. It will be his doing. His squad, the squad that he built, that he created, will be coming in to win this Premier League title. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us today. If you liked what you saw, please hit that like and subscribe button. It really helps the channel out, makes a big difference for us. If you want more Arsenal content, this is where it's coming from. We are also looking to cover LAFC, to cover Serie A, to cover the rest of the Premier League. So please, if these are things that interest you, like and subscribe. U.S. men's national team, we've got a big series that we're working on. A couple of different people, a couple of different colleagues of mine and I are working on it, and it's shaping up to be really interesting, good content for you guys. So please like and subscribe. And thank you so much for joining us today. Huge win for the Gunners. Thank you guys so much. Have a lovely rest of your weekend. Come on, you Gunners, and I will see you next time.